Well, hey, everybody. Bill Sherck, the man about the woods. Welcome to the Minnesota Bound podcast, the stories behind the stories. And this week, I want to welcome our newest sponsor, one I'm really excited about, Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed beef. Oddly enough, that's actually our topic today, something that's near and dear to my heart. I want to talk a little bit about clean water. Um, Changing our landscape for the better and relying on outdoor and agricultural practices that make the world around us just a little bit of a better place. Lots to talk about today, which is why Matt Maier is along for today's ride. Matt is the proprietor of Thousand Hills. Matt, how the heck are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Doing very well. I just got off the farm this morning and back into the studio here with you.
So you come into the studio and I go out into the woods. It's kind of funny. I'm on actually taking a break this week, so I'm tucked away up north. But technology is an amazing thing. If I was there, I'd give you knuckles, but there'll be plenty of that ahead. So you guys have a really special program going, and I am a huge fan of it because, again, in the world we live in of outdoor communications, Minnesota Bound, the TV show, the podcast, all the other stuff, so much of our messaging is all about changing the landscape for the better. And right or wrong, sometimes ag is that word, right? It's that sparking point about changing our landscape. But you guys are on to something. You are raising cattle, beef cattle, and you're doing it in a very special way. What gives?
Well, I was thinking as you're talking there, the reason why you and I can talk hand in hand about this topic is because what we're really doing with our protocol and our practices of regenerative agriculture is mimicking what ruminants and particularly bison did in this country for thousands and thousands of years that built this great ecosystem and topsoil that we enjoy today to produce our food. So it's no wonder that what our practices put in place are the end result being clean water, rebuilding soil, helping pollinators, increasing diversity in grasslands, and all the benefits to wildlife habitat that come out of that. And fortunately, I've been able to have my own case study right near Clearwater, Minnesota, where I grew up, where I've been able to work with 12 different landowners that were grazing their land. Everything that was land that was in CRP was tilled in GMO corn and soybeans for decades, to old native pastures that have sat idle, because now you don't find animals on the land anymore. If you look around on small farms, you don't see animals. They're all in a shed somewhere where you can't look at them and see them, and they're not on the land where they could be doing a lot of good. So it's exciting to talk about this with you because I know your listeners have a great appreciation for nature, for the environment, for water. And we're a part of the agricultural puzzle that can really rebuild and regenerate a lot of what we've lost.
Yeah, and the point is, you talk about the bison back in the day, they just roamed. They just found the next stand of grass that looked good and said, we'll knock this down. And once it was knocked down, they moved on to the next one. And so many people who are in that world today, right? They have these fences up, they have a finite area where the cattle can be, and they chew it up. There is erosion, and the grass and the greens eventually go away. And you figured out how to get past that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what the bison did, there's a few things that they did that turns out through research now we have found have an exponentially positive impact on soil, the soil biome, and the organic matter in the soil. And that is they traveled in a dense herd to protect themselves from predators. And they moved, like you said, in that tight herd from one grassland, one area to another, and they rotated around so that they would give where they were previously time to recover and regrow. And while they're doing that, their fertilizer is fertilizing the soil. The hoof action actually helps the seed bed. Even their saliva has a positive impact on the soil biology. So we're just beginning to
Hmm.
learn all the magic that's in that process. So yeah, we take our cattle and we put them in what we call paddocks. In our 700 acres that we're grazing right near Clearwater, we have over 300 paddocks that we can choose from for our rotation. And we move them daily, sometimes twice a day during the peak of the growing season. And we manage it all holistically. So, like right now is a great example. We're in the middle of a drought. We have disrupted our grazing plan. We are letting some areas just sit idle, and other areas we're grazing more often because they're in a area where they naturally wouldn't graze. It would normally be too wet. Now they can go in and graze, and they're actually having a positive impact in those low-lying areas, disturbing that for a day and then moving them on. So that whole process, the closer we can get to replicating what actually the bison did and not do set grazing. In our world, that's where you put the animals in. Maybe you give 10 animals 30 acres and you just let them go for the summer and they graze. Well, what happens is it does graze, they graze it down to the ground. And then the only thing that survives is anything that can grow an inch tall. And you get a very limited diversity there with the plant
Yes.
species. But in our world, we don't want to ever go shorter than 4 to 6 inches. And we want to let that plant recover so that it can fully express itself. It can bloom, it can seed, it can do those things. So we're on a 40-day, approximately 40 to 50-day rotation that allows that plant to recover. And then that whole process of just biting off a part of that plant goes into kind of a turbocharged photosynthesis where it's drawing in more carbon and building more organic matter in the soil. And you do that 3-4 times a growing season, and you're really, like I say, supercharging the soil biology while still allowing cover for the wildlife and food
Yes.
for the wildlife.
And here's where I see just the opposite. For anyone who's going, well, this is all, I don't quite get it yet. I do a lot of trout fishing. And I do it with friends, I do it with my family, and we walk a lot of farms in southeastern Minnesota, areas where the cattle are active. And these streams run through some of these pastures. You talk about there are only a couple of species that can remain, right? So it's all dirt, mud, low grass. And the result we see is what I'm not making jokes here, but when it does rain in Minnesota, right in those areas, the rain falls, um, the water moves towards the stream. It's not being filtered
Yep.
by diverse grasses and habitat. It's picking up the mud, and that mud goes right into the stream. Those streams get silted out. They run down to the Mississippi. The Mississippi runs all the way down to New Orleans. There is a dead zone, right?
Yep.
There is a delta down there. And whenever I talk about that, I say, that delta, you know where that's coming from? Some of it's coming from us, right?
Absolutely.
And I am not trying to paint a dire picture there at all, but that is the reality of what happens. The point being, what you guys are doing, you are changing that equation.
You're
And maybe in some small way, we're taking it back. We're taking our world back in time a little bit.
Yeah, we are, and we're also using modern technology to do that. I mean, one of the greatest advancements in for what we do is electrified polywire because it's easy to roll up, it's easy to move. We build fences every day, but it only takes 15 to 20 minutes to build a fence for our next paddock. And we electrify it. It doesn't hurt the animals at all. It just keeps them in. And it allows us to move and create these paddocks based upon what's going on. Like we can paddock off a stream. If the water's running, or depending on the forecast, we see rain coming and we shouldn't be on that stream, we don't go on that stream, and we can quickly run a poly and keep them off the stream. And I'm so glad you brought up the
Mm-hmm.
dead zone, because I am very proud of the fact that we have a tributary that we graze from the mouth of that tributary all the way to the Mississippi River. And it's only about a mile and a half long, but I worked piece by piece, acre by acre, to gain control of that for grazing. Whereas before there was probably, let me count, about 8 to 10 fields that were tilled right up to the edge of that stream. And if it wasn't tilled, there were previously cattle there that were set grazed and eroding the bank. So I was able to watch that stream go from a silty, brown colored water stream with the erosion going right into it, with all that excess nutrients that end up causing the dead zone. And now we have a clear stream coming through there. And our cattle still can have access to it, but again, it's only a day.
Yep.
And we still keep forage in place. Cattle can access water if it's only for a day, and then you move them on, and then that grass actually grows back thicker the next time around. So people get a little nervous when they see cattle by a stream, but if you are holistically managing, you're actually improving that bank and improving that watershed. Is part of what we're getting. Okay, when you create the dead zone, you're getting excess nutrients, like just topsoil and excess nutrient that way, but you're also getting the petrochemical fertilizer that's washing off. You're getting the Roundup, you're getting the herbicides, you're getting that's also washing into this watershed. And that breaks my heart. I mean, that absolutely breaks my heart, because number one, we're taking our food system soil and putting it down in the dead zone. And number two, we're taking chemicals that are made to kill things and putting that into the water. So, I know not everyone wants to hear that message, but it's what I believe and it's what I practice. And we have 50 other producers across the country that have the same practices.
All right. There, we're just touching this deal, right? So much fun to talk about. We've got a lot coming, but first we need to pay a couple of bills here. The Minnesota Bound podcast doesn't just happen, and it's kind of funny that we're talking because you guys just happen to be the newest sponsor of the podcast, Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed beef. You know, I talk about this constantly. I make a career talking about clean water, native habitat, and some of the best environmental practices. And that is exactly why I'm so excited to have Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed beef on board with Minnesota Bound. It is locally raised beef done differently. Let me explain. We're talking about it today. Thousand Hills uses what's called regenerative agriculture to raise cattle. Those beef cows, they graze in fields of wild grasses. It is a system of sustainable ecosystems free of those synthetic fertilizers and the chemical herbicides. It is agriculture that promotes clean water, those natural grasses, and the byproduct, the best part, the best beef you've ever tasted. Of course, my wife and sons, we love grilling. We love smoking. We do it all week long. And now we cook using Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed beef. The Sherck boys, they look so forward to those meals. Check out Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed to understand their special agricultural practices and fall in love with their beef. We'd also like to thank the Minnesota Propane Association.
Hi, I'm Laura Shera, and did you know that a propane gas furnace lifespan averages 20 years, while electric heat pumps only last 14 years? And propane furnaces work in all temperatures while delivering warm and consistent heat to your home. Why buy two heating systems when one propane furnace can do it all? It lasts longer, works better, and it costs less. These things and more are done with propane today. The right energy right now.
One more sponsor and we'll get back to the show. Voyager, one of my favorites, no doubt. The world has been a crazy place lately. We have busy work schedules, the kids, the coaching, the travel, the work routines. You know how it goes. It all feels like it's too much at times. But you know what? I have kind of found my way to take some time and truly get away. And I do it with the new Voyager sauna. Voyager builds custom saunas for your home, backyard, and business, and they are the only company building premier mobile saunas. They are units on wheels. They go anywhere you go. It's the pick of the Sherck family. Voyager uses clear grade cedar benches, spray foam insulation, Kuma wood-fired stove, or Hilo electric heaters. These are Finnish influenced hand-built saunas that will last you a lifetime. We love our new unit, Voyager, a Minnesota movement influenced by Finnish culture. Visit voyagersaunas.com and get ready to de-stress. Okay, back to today's story. Matt Maier is along for the ride today, and we are talking about Thousand Hills regenerative agriculture. This is a topic that is dear to my heart. When we go west to hunt, man, you get out in Montana and some of those areas, and you can see what the grazing practices do to the landscape. Some good, some not so good. But here in Minnesota, Matt, you guys are quickly making a name for yourselves by doing it differently. And you and I talked before the show, native habitats, protecting the landscape for folks like us, it's something that gets into your soul. It's like part of your DNA. Like, how do you grow up in Clearwater and say, I'm going to dedicate my life to this? That doesn't just happen.
No, it sure doesn't. I mean, I had the privilege of growing up on a small 100-acre farm near Clearwater, and spent a lot of time. My dad, the farm was a hobby in that it did not financially support us. So my dad worked off the farm in a factory, and it was my sister and I who were really in charge of taking care of the animals, especially during the growing season when we weren't in school. So we spent, and Fortune was just a beautiful. As I've gotten around the country, I appreciate Minnesota more and more. A beautiful area of lakes, ponds, streams, hills, trees, grasslands, all combined together, really in this one farm. So we had a great exposure to wildlife and to nature, and that just, it became a part of us. Well, I ended up no one had to convince me to go to college because I could see I couldn't earn a living on the farm. We got by with very little. We had plenty of good food to eat, but besides that, I knew I had to do something else to make a living. So I actually went to college, got a business degree, and worked in conventional food. I ended up starting my own marketing agency, and I had the great privilege of working with a lot of food companies. And witnessing what was going on with our food, conventional food side of the world. And then I had the opportunity to sell that business and move my young family back near the farm where I grew up. And it was at that point, my experience in the conventional food industry combined with what I saw happening on the land when I moved back 20 years later, I did not recognize the farms. I mean, I knew the farmsteads, but the animals were gone. Some big operators were just going around tilling everything that they could till to grow corn and soy. Roundup was there, GMO, Roundup ready plants. And there was so much erosion. And it turns out as we got into this and measuring, taking soil tests, and finding out what was going on with the soil, it was very degraded. Organic matter was down to under 1%. Anyway, it just felt different. I didn't see the same wildlife. Everything just looked different and felt different from someone who had grown up so close to the land. You could see and feel and hear the difference.
Yeah.
So, I was luckily in a position where I had a little bit of time after selling that business to say, okay, what am I going to do now? And I thought, I want to do something to improve our overall food system. So I started researching that. And what came back to me, which was surprising even to me, was that the number one thing that you could kind of globally affect the food system was to raise grass-fed cattle, holistically grazing them on the land with regenerative practices. And so we have this saying now that's been at a conference that is of like-minded people of it's not the cow, it's the how. So
Hmm.
cattle are vilified, and for good reason. The way that we manage them as people, they can cause damage.
Right.
But on the other hand, they also can be the solution.
Right.
And that's what got me excited because I'm like, okay, I raised grass-fed cattle when I was a kid. I like raising cattle. I can do this. And that started that whole journey of learning that process myself and then becoming involved with Thousand Hills because it already had existed. It was a few years into existence when I started with the company, and eventually became sole owner of the company. And now we've expanded to nationwide distribution. We're in all 50 states, and we work with 50 different producers across the country. And every one of those individuals want to leave this place better than they found it. Every one of those ranchers, every one of those farmers are absolutely committed to, I want to turn this around so that of the acreage that I'm managing, I can leave it better than I found it. And I love those
And
people. That's so admirable.
and you can still have a living. I think.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
think.
Well, you can. It's not easy. I'll tell you, it's not easy. I mean, you have to have land and you have to have cattle. So it's not an easy entry into it. But we're working so that those producers can, earn a living doing it. And it really comes down to the consumer voting with their dollar. You know,
Yes.
our product costs $2 to $3 more a pound than conventional grain-fed beef. It just does. But when you layer on the health benefits and you layer on the environmental benefits and the water benefits and all of that, I think it's a bargain. But it's up to every consumer to decide that for themselves. Or, it's kind of like pay now or pay later. And if we can have an impact, all of us, by voting with our dollars, then we can support those producers that are really working every day to change the land that they're on and to regenerate it.
All right, let's paint a picture here because I'm a little bit jealous of you. What's it like at the end of the day for you to walk out to see part of your herd, out in whatever, waist deep, neck deep grass, the sun going down, the sounds of the bugs, our hot summer nights? What are those moments like for you? Or do you not pay attention because you're just working your
No,
tail off the whole time?
you actually got me to tear up a little bit there as you described that because first of all, for me, it never gets old. I'm sure just like you, being out in nature, even though it's right
Yep.
out my back door, it never gets old. So there's two times of the day that I love. One is when the sun's coming up and the birds first start chirping and the bees first start flying around, and I can be out there, whether it's a mist or a fog or a flower or whatever it is, I get to witness that. And over time, I get to witness the increased sandhill cranes, the bald eagles that have moved onto our farm for the first time in 60 years, um, the wood ducks, the white swans that now we have 5 pair nesting on our farm,
Wow.
and 20 years ago we had 0. I get to witness all those bigger things and know that there's a million little things going on that I can't even see. So I appreciate that every day. And in the evening, you're right. I love the sunset. There's something that's so therapeutic about watching cattle graze peacefully on the land when it's cooling off for the day that it just never gets old. And it's so, you just feel that you're doing the right thing, that this is the way God intended. This is how it's supposed to work.
Well, without sounding a little too thick here, it is your backyard. It's not like you're in some faraway place. This is where you grew up. This is your point on the map.
It is. And, part of that emotional part for me is that just recently my 20-year-old son came back to the farm to start working with me on the farm, and he's beginning to see some of the wisdom that went into our practices and my dad's practices before me, and to have that opportunity to work with family. I have two daughters that work in marketing and public health within the company. So to be able to draw in the next generation to continue these practices, because what my biggest fear is that we invest all this into turning this land around in this slow process of regenerating to only have it fall apart when I can't do it anymore, and go right
Yep.
back to the tilling and right back to the spraying and right back to the practices. That's my biggest fear. So I'm so heartened to be able to have family that's interested in the same thing of improving our food system.
Yeah, and it sounds a little bit silly, but it's one plow away, right? It's the
It
same
really
with my
is.
prairie project.
Yep.
I spend 10 years grinding to get the bad stuff out of there, to get the natives back, to,
Mm-hmm.
put in pockets for the pollinators and all that stuff. And you look at it and sometimes you go, oh, someday when I go away, does somebody just come through here in 1 hour? It's all gone.
Right. Yeah.
Right. I don't know, but I hope not. I hope that people can appreciate the change and say this is a long-term solution to some of the things that ail us.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I
it
get it,
comes with
but
it.
I would also argue. I was going to say it also, but it also says something. Your daughters are back. Your son is back. All you hear about are the family farms, and it is so hard to carry that legacy to the next generation.
Yep.
That they're all scramming.
Yep.
And they're coming back to you.
And they are, and it was definitely not predicted. I was always jealous of the farms that had the multi-generation thing going on, and I never thought it was going to happen for me. So it's been a surprise. Um, but the big part of it is education. So that's what we're doing today. The only way that land doesn't go back to the plow is that if enough people are educated on the benefits and why we need to do this before. I don't want to sound dramatic, but before a crisis makes a decision for us, that our
Yep.
food security, that our resiliency in our food system isn't there, and we have to then make dramatic changes all at once. So we can do it gradually now, yet we're not so far gone that we can't turn this around and have more nutritious food, and we can have a better, cleaner water, better environment. But, it's. There's studies out that say, we've got 60 years left of agriculture before the soil is too far gone to be able to sustain ourselves. I don't know about you, but
That's
that's
scary.
about how long I've been around on this earth.
Right.
And yeah, so, the Food and Agriculture Organization did a global study, and that was the number that they came up with, 60 years. So it's imminent, and it has some urgency, but we still can control how this happens. And this pandemic, I digress a little bit on this, but I'm so proud of the fact that we went through 2020, and all of our producers were still producing cattle. We kept our pricing constant. The stores that were with us, the 1,000 or so stores that are with us, kept product on the shelf. So our decentralized producers across the country that are all family farms and ranches, our decentralized processing that has this processing spread out across the country, and our decentralized distribution all led to resiliency in the supply chain, all led to the fact that we had a 95% fill rate for all of our stores across the country in 2020. So when people say, "Oh, that's kind of cute, but you can't feed the world with this crazy stuff," it's like, no, actually, we do a better job of feeding the world. We take land that's actually not contributing anything to our food system and create grass-fed beef with it. And because it's not all congregated and consolidated into one big building or one big ranch, we are much more resilient in feeding ourselves through this model than the conventional model of big consolidation
Right.
into one big processing facility or several big ranches, and then all the benefits downstream as well. So this is the model. I mean, to get people back on the land, to be able to afford to do this, it's layering on enterprises so that you can take 100 acres and you can actually create a living with it.
Right.
How we do it on our farm is we have pastured eggs, we have pastured pork, we have goats, and we have grass-fed beef. And we need all of those to be financially solvent. Which gets into the whole other discussion about how each of those species can positively affect the land. But I don't think we'll go down that path today.
All right, let's take a break here. We need to thank a couple more sponsors, but when we come back, I want to talk a few recipes with you. Right, there are all kinds of payoffs to what you're doing, but the eat part is a biggie too. Do you have favorites?
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
I do.
save them, but be thinking over the next 90 seconds about what those are, because we're going to give away your secrets.
All right, sounds good.
Matt Maier is my guest, owner of Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed beef. Such a amazing conversation to have. Also, we appreciate them sponsoring the show. And we have so many great sponsors who help make the Minnesota Bound podcast happen each week. We're talking clean water today, right? Which takes me to Connecticut. The Shercks. We love Connecticut water. It's no secret. We live in the country. We have that ironclad Minnesota well water. That is good news and bad news, right? Well, we treat all of our water with a Connecticut whole home water treatment system. We also use Connecticut's K5 drinking water system. That white buildup you get around the faucets? We get none of that. Our dishes are clean. Katie loves what Connecticut water does for her hair and skin, and the boys drink water out of the K5 tap all day long. I say it week in and week out. Before their soccer practices, before hockey, they get their water bottles and they fill with Connecticut. Call Connecticut like the Sherck family did and look forward to clean, safe water. We would also like to thank the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources.
Minnesota's wildlife management areas are a vast array of lands all across Minnesota. These 1,440 wildlife management areas are valued not only for wildlife, but also for Minnesota's outdoor recreation opportunities. They maintain hunter walking trails, plant food plots for wildlife, and develop acres and acres of prairie and grasslands. To find out more, go to mndnr.gov/WMAS.
First off, a big thanks to North Dakota Tourism. You can start planning your fall hunts in North Dakota at legendarynd.com. North Dakota right now is home to more than 800,000 plots hunting acres. Pete, you and I have done stories on similar sorts of pieces of property. It's private land that landowners open up to public hunting. Take that call while I do this commercial. The Plots Guide shows you exactly where all that land sits. North Dakota's ringneck population right now, get this, the crowing counts are up 15% this year, and the state is also home to an estimated 2.9 million breeding ducks. It's an absolute outdoor oasis, and it is just waiting. Bag your limit this fall in North Dakota. Visit legendarynd.com.
Okay, back to the fun stuff. Matt Maier, owner of Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed beef, is along today, and we've been talking about your sustainable form of agriculture and how you raise cattle. And you don't negatively impact our landscape, but you bring positive benefits. And one of the positives, obviously, part of this equation is harvesting and using. And I'm guessing some of that happens on the farm. Do you work sun up to sundown, or do you get a chance to go to the grill and have some fun?
Well, I do get a chance to get to the grill and the smoker. So I'm very spoiled, actually. our most common meal is for my wife and I is grilled New York strip steak with grilled vegetables from the garden, and that's it. No other starch.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, and we just never get tired of that. And I just, along those lines, if we're going to talk about eating, I just want to touch on the fact that in all of our food, in our conventional food, there's been a big decrease in nutritional value. So up to 80% of the nutritional value of our food has gone away since the 1950s and 60s. And so we've tested our beef, and we have found that, and this is in the micronutrients and the minerals, and you really get into a fine detail. But just to summarize, we have similar nutrition values of our beef that we saw in our conventional beef back in the 50s. So there's this health aspect of consuming this food, and particularly in the fats. We've been taught that we should not eat fat, that fat equals fat, and that's not true. Actually, we need fats for our brains and our bodies to really function. It's just that when you feed starch to cattle, they have four stomachs, and they're made to break down grasses and cellulose into meat and milk. And if you just give them starch, it's kind of like us eating donuts and only donuts all the time. And it changes the omega 6, omega 3 ratio to lead to cardiovascular issues that we hear about.
Hmm.
But we've actually had cardiologists prescribe our beef because our omega 6, omega 3 ratios get back into a healthy balance when you're feeding them just forage, just grass. So that has a big aspect. So when I talk about, like, I eat beef probably 6 days a week, and sometimes it's twice a day because we have a beef bacon. So I have bacon and eggs with my beef bacon, and I'll
Oh my
have
gosh.
and I have eggs and bacon every day. By the way,
I'm
either
coming
pork or
back as
beef,
you.
and my cholesterol level is fine. It really is. And so we have our pastured eggs and beef bacon, pork bacon. Then in the evening we have either burger or a steak. Once in a while we'll mix in some chicken or fish, but um, so anyway, New York strip steak is my favorite steak, medium rare, just a touch of sea salt and a little bit of pepper, and then maybe a little bit of grass fed butter on each side as you're grilling it. um, so that's my number one choice. I really like simple. I don't have complicated recipes. And then the only other thing is a brisket in the smoker, where I prefer to start the night before and let on hover right below 200 degrees overnight, and then turn it up a little bit during the day,
Wow.
and get it to be ready about 4 o'clock p.m. the next day. That's my ideal brisket smoking. And our meats, our muscle meats, are going to be leaner than what you'll find in conventional grain-fed beef. So you have to be careful with temperature. You have to be a little bit lower temperature. Otherwise, it's the same preparation.
What smoker do you use overnight? Am I allowed to ask that?
You'll be surprised. I have not invested in an expensive smoker. I just haven't taken the time to do it. It's on my list, but I don't even know the brand of it. But it's actually, I hate to admit it, but it's propane powered with pellets,
Yep.
and
Yep.
and I just put it on low and slow and let it go. But that is
And it just
definitely on my
works.
list. Yeah, it does work. It's delicious, but I need to up my game there.
All right. So if people want to learn more about you guys, or they just want to purchase, where do you send people?
Well, first of all, we like to have people support our retail partners. So, we're in all the Coburn stores with a nice display, and we're in all the local food co-ops. So we're, at the Wedge, Mississippi Market, Lake Winds, Eastside Co-op. We're in all the co-ops. They're great. They understand what we're doing, and that's what I would advise people: is find a retailer that you trust their values. and let them do the vetting of the products that you're going to buy, because it's so hard to do all your own research for every product category out there. I mean, grass-fed beef
Sure.
is confusing. The labeling's confusing. There's loopholes that you can go through, that producers or brands can go through. So I'd advise people to trust their retailer if you're looking for this type of product. And then we also sell online. We're in e-commerce. So Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed. You look that up, you can buy, whatever you're looking for.
Well, and you can understand the messaging. You've got great videos, you've got pages talking about the how and the why. It's an education, but it's a fun one, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, that is what it's about. I mean, I still feel like a rookie. The businesses have been around. When you said earlier in the podcast, quickly making a name for yourself, what went through my mind is, the 18 years of blood, sweat, and tears quickly made a name
Yep.
for ourselves.
Yep.
But
Right.
but we
But
we love to educate people. Yeah, so we've got videos, we've got information on our website to help explain further what we're doing.
well, we are so excited to have you guys as partners, and just so excited to share in the story. So keep it going, please.
Well,
The world needs more of this, no doubt.
well, thank you. I appreciate that compliment, and I appreciate what you stand for and what you do as well. So keep up the good work. It's a good fight that we can really turn things around, and there's a lot of progress being made. I'm sure you see that as well.
Do you ever allow people to just come and look?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, the best time to do that is the co-ops put together an annual farm tour in July.
Oh,
And they
wow.
organize, there's like 20 different farms you can go to. They're all open, and you can make your own route. It's very well put together. People are serving food at some farms, and there's tours at every farm. And that way you get the most attention. I mean, this year we had over 200 people show up at that farm tour throughout. It's funny. I told my staff and my family that I did not stop talking from 9:30 to 4:30, and I was so dry. But we took nice intimate groups of 10, 15 people around the farm and talked about what we did. Let any questions, you can see what we're doing. That's the best time to do that in any given year.
Gosh, I smell a Minnesota Bound story in
Oh,
that.
it's so great. I was just yesterday, I looked at it. This is the first year we've had honeybees on the farm, and they're doing great. And the man that manages the bees for us said he can't believe the sweet gold honey that's coming off the farm. And I'm so
Hmm.
happy about that. And that it just to be able to show people that and show all these different avenues that we're going down with these animals. It's so fun to share with people. And there's many people out there that are very passionate about it, very loyal to our brand. And I appreciate those people, because without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do.
Well, go get this darn headset off, get back out in the fields, and thanks again. So
Uh,
intriguing to talk to you, Matt. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on, Bill.
So there you go. The story behind the story, Minnesota Bound and Thousand Hills, having a positive impact on our landscape. And these days, that's what it's all about. Because like Matt said, the clock is ticking. We'll be back with another story next week. Again, thanks so much to the sponsors that help make the Minnesota Bound podcast happen each week. Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Beef. Thank you so much. Voyager Saunas, another of our favorites. Of course, the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, Connecticut, and Connecticut's Clean Water, and also the Minnesota Propane Association. Until next week, like we always say, don't forget to introduce a kid to the great outdoors.